So today is the Global Day of Action for Access to Safe and Legal Abortions. And currently in New South Wales, 87% of voters agree that it should be a woman's right to determine the status of her own pregnancy. So if this is the case, why is abortion still subject to criminal law in all states except the ACT? And when can we expect to see change on the subject?
Barnaby Joyce.
Well, we all know that this is an issue which everybody has, I don't think, has thought about deeply. We all have our different views. I think we have to respect each other's views. My views is that a life is to be respected, whether it's inside the womb or outside the womb. I know that's different to others, and I'm confirmed of that view, and I hold that view. And I've thought long and hard about it, and it's not based on a religious principle. It's based on me going back through my life and saying, when did I attain the rights that I have now? At what point did that happen?
I'm just going to bring you to the question, though, which is that abortion happens, as you know, regularly in this country, but it isn't a woman's right in Australia for the most part, except in, let's say, the ACT. In New South Wales and Queensland, it's still a crime unless a doctor agrees that the woman's life or mental health is not a woman's right to choose. I guess that's what the questioner wants to see change. What do you say?
Well, I've said what my view is. My view is that at what point in my life did someone have the right to point? Therefore, I don't agree in abortion.
Nor that women should have any right to choose what happens with their own body.
Well, this is a discussion, I think, Tony, that is not really for Q&A. It could occupy a whole discussion piece itself. It's probably one of the most profound discussions that people have. And you're approaching it from your view, other people will approach it from theirs, and I think that it's one that, there's one thing certain, it'll draw up the emotions of the night.
Lizanne.
I think there is clearly a double standard operating here, because we all know it's happening, and yet it's not. There is still this risk of criminalisation, I guess. So I think it is a problem, and I think it needs to be discussed. And regardless what side of the debate you come down on, the fact is that that is not right. Either it should be allowed or it should not be allowed. And so I think there is a double standard operating, and it needs to be looked at. And it is, Barnaby's absolutely right. It's a really difficult issue. But it is absolutely, I'm sure it's no secret what side of the argument I would come down on, a very, very difficult one, but one that I do think needs clarification under the law.
Yeah. Catherine King.
I think it should be removed from the criminal codes of every single jurisdiction. It should not be. This is the 21st century, and frankly, it shouldn't be in the criminal codes at all.
Why wasn't it tackled at a federal level by two Labor administrations?
It sort of can't, because there's state laws. So you see in Victoria there was a very big debate about
even
that.
The call for this to happen.
Yeah, well, again, it's a conscience vote within our party, and I have a very firm view that it should not be a crime for women to access, safe, lawful terminations of pregnancy and have a choice and have rights over their own bodies, frankly.
John Roskin.
We should have the discussion, but in Victoria, where abortion was decriminalised, doctors lost freedom of conscience. So that's a second aspect to this debate. I share Barnaby's views. There are also limits. There must be limits to the right to choose. So we have to have the discussion, and we need to look at what's happened in Victoria before we change the law in New South Wales or Queensland.
Before we go, the other panellists got another question on this topic. It's from Joshua Gresh. I'll bring Joshua in.
Regarding the proposed over-the-phone abortion service for women living in regional and remote areas, do you believe that this service will be marred in controversy or remain in place, giving the women the options that they are entitled to?
David, can I bring you in?
Abortion laws are one of the now quite small group of laws in this country where religious belief is directly expressed through criminal law. My view is that they should all go, and that the criminal law has no place in this area. And I myself cannot see why the decision whether to terminate the extremely painful, personal, difficult decision about terminating a pregnancy can't be made over the phone when necessary from a remote area. I don't see that introduces any new moral principle. This is something that can be done just as any other medical procedures can be advised over the phone as well. I don't see the problem.
Barnaby Joyce, this has particularly been devised for people in rural and remote areas and regional areas that don't have access easily to the services that are in cities. What do you say?
Well, I think it's once more, it's a profound question. What do we talk about in the last trimester? How do we present the idea of late-term abortion? Would it be viable? Do we have this discussion over a phone? I think it's a bit more complicated than that.
Catherine King?
Yep. So the story today is that a service provider wants to provide access to clinical care via teleconferencing for medical abortions by RU486. And it seems to me a very sensible proposition to be able to make sure that you are extending that service, so long as all of the clinical safeguards are in place, that actually does occur. For some states and territories, however, it will mean that service won't be possible. So for the Northern Territory, for example, if you want to have a termination, you must do it within a hospital. So it will not be available for some of those for women in those areas. And I think certainly women that I've talked to in those areas are very distressed about that and want to see a change in the Northern Territory to access to what is a safe procedure, so long as all of the clinical checks are in place.
Barnaby Joyce, I'm not sure that we finally got your position on this completely. The telephone service. Yeah. No, I
don't agree to it. I think it's something that's for a whole range of reasons. If something is that serious, I think it warrants you meeting somebody face to face and having that discussion. And this idea of I'm going to talk to you over the phone about probably one of the most profound decisions of your life just doesn't wash with me.